Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry I've been gone for a few days. We've had some excitement in the Marvis family. Jonathan, who many of you may know, who helps me with my business and does my marketing, got engaged over the weekend. So we will soon have a new family member. So we're very excited and all the fun stuff that comes with wedding preparations. So today I wanted to speak to you about the 5 worst pieces of medical advice that I've ever heard patients complain about, or uh, I think they've ever been given. Certainly have had some conversations with patients who seek care about what they were told. And, sometimes I think there are some exaggeration components and maybe stories or what was said maybe was reinterpreted differently. But I certainly know that these have been given by medical professionals. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I want to highlight why it's a concern if you do get this kind of advice and maybe what you can do about it. Okay, number one, I got me and my list here is just live with it, right? So I think as a female who is now into middle age and appreciating the enormous shift in life that comes with perimenopause and menopause, and having that understanding is really, really important. That just live with it is not a good piece of advice. Whether it's a simple symptom that you're concerned about or something that's been ongoing and much more of a struggle, like chronic pain, or something that just doesn't feel right, fatigue, feeling like you're getting sick all the time. These are things that need to be given time and care, right? You need to be under the care of someone who will take the time to see you as a whole person, not just a symptom. And so sometimes these are things that can be relatively easily fixed. For example, if I have someone who has been on a whole food plant-based diet for a long time and not supplementing B12, maybe they're getting some tingling in their fingers or fatigue. We give them B12, does the labs, they're doing great. That's an easy fix. Or maybe someone needs some adjustment on their thyroid medication or something like that. That's an easy fix. But you don't know what needs to be done unless someone is actually listening to you and getting all the history. And so one of the things that I would recommend doing that would make these type of visits less likely to happen is to be very concise in what your symptoms are and be very clear on what you want to know. Because when you start complaining of very vague symptoms like fatigue or just not feeling well, it can be really hard in the time crunch when a doctor is really struggling with just seeing all the patients that they're required to see and do a proper good job. So what I would recommend is literally writing down a history, no more than 1 page if you can, of when the symptoms started, like you were well when, and then something started happening, like you were like, this might be the igniting time or experience, or something happened, right? Maybe you were hospitalized and given large doses of antibiotics and you've had diarrhea since then. Okay, that'll narrow it in, right? Or if you have a history of migraines, writing down the type of migraines, where they're located, what makes them worse, what makes them better, any family history of these. So anything and everything that you can journal in a concise form when it started. Like if you were a detective or a journalist and you were going to write an article about you and that particular thing that you're going to ask your doctor about, that's the kind of thing that I'd be talking about. So you have it and he's like, here's my issue. I put it all together so that we can make the most of our time together. Because remember, your doctor is your partner in your healthcare. They're not the owners of your healthcare. You are. So you are the CEO of your healthcare. So you get to make the decisions. And if you're not liking a discussion, well, what can you do to make the discussion even better? So it's just like all those meetings that you may be at work and you're like, oh, this meeting is just so annoying. They're useless. I don't want you to feel like that when you go to see your doctor, because 99% of the time, your doctor has your best interests at heart. They're just human beings and they struggle under time constraints and lots of stresses. So let's make that, one, it's your responsibility also to make sure that you get the care that you need, but two, that you make the time that you do have time with your doctor the best utilization of both your time. And so, yes, we should all do the best. And yes, your doctor should pay attention. And yes, we wish we had a better healthcare system, but complaining about it doesn't change it. What you can do now is do your own responsibility, and then that allow your doctor to do theirs as well. But again, if your doctor still at the end of that says just live with it, go find another doctor. So both parties are responsible, but I think many times, sometimes patients aren't giving all the information because they weren't prepared or didn't know what to prepare for. And two, I think doctors are just as viable here too, right? They're just like, this is just menopause. These are symptoms. Just live with it. Or something that is, vague. They're like, oh, you'll be fine. It'll pass. That's not okay either. So again, hoping that it will help, because when I have patients come in and they send me information before the appointment, it's a game changer. For our half hour together or our hour together is super, super productive. So, and it sets the tone for honing in, and I got some data. I don't have to spend that time asking those questions because you've already supplied some of the information. So I hope you found that piece helpful. Number two, this one comes from every doctor will tell you, is a big one. There's two sides of it. If the advice is take antibiotics just in case. No, right? Because so many prescriptions of antibiotics are given unnecessarily in this country that we're breeding superbugs, right? We're breeding bacteria that are resistant to some of the most valuable things that we have. That really helped increase the longevity of humans, right? Is because, the top killers are no longer infections, but that doesn't mean that can't go back to it. So if you have a cold, if you've been sick, and your doctor's like, this is just a cold, but here, take some antibiotics just in case. Please don't. Ask them specifically, do I need to really take these antibiotics? Because you're destroying your poor gut microbiome, right? And like I said, you're literally creating potential breeding of superbugs. And it doesn't make you hasten you're getting better when you have a virus. So let's say you have acute bronchitis and you're often given, let's say, azithromycin or Z-Pak. People are like, oh, but it made me feel better faster. I was like, you probably would have gotten better even without it. So please don't think that you should be taking antibiotics just in case, because it's really doing harm to you in the long run and to, honestly, the community of human beings that live in this world, because we're decreasing the utility of these antibiotics. And 80% of antibiotics are actually used in animal agriculture. Because antibiotics help animals grow faster. They're being raised in horrible conditions and horrible conditions. So they give them antibiotics because they're sick and trying to prevent illness. So you breed superbugs within our food system. So if you don't eat animal products, you're still at risk. Let's say you go grocery shopping. Those bacteria, let's say someone picked up some meat from the meat counter and they're touching the little grocery cart handle. Wipe that down, guys. That is a horrible transfer of bacteria. Anyway, just throwing that out there on the side note. But please only take antibiotics if it's actually indicated. And the only way to do that is really just speak to your doctor and say, hey, is this really necessary? Yes, that would be important. Sometimes it goes the other way. Patients are very resistant to taking antibiotics when they really should. That's much rarer case. But I will say, it's funny, as doctors, we get these rankings on different websites like Health Grades or something. People can just go and lambast you. I have been given either fives or ones. Fives are when I help patients, reverse their diabetes and lose weight and reverse their cholesterol. And the ones are the ones I wouldn't give antibiotics to because it wasn't appropriate. And they've been sick for one day with minimal symptoms and told them, you don't need an antibiotic, it's a virus. And they go and put it on public display. And it's unfortunately that I couldn't, or other doctors cannot respond, because we are obligated in our profession to withhold to things like not, discussing your healthcare online, but you can go and lambast someone if someone doesn't give you an antibiotic. and that comes across. So that's just something that's super annoying. But anyway, doesn't keep me from not doing the right thing for patients. But that was number 2. Number 3, diet and exercise don't matter much. So you know me, that would really get me. But I've certainly had patients come and have diabetes or cholesterol or hypertension, and their doctor's like, oh, your family has it, or oh, you're just older. Diet and exercise don't matter much. Nothing's going to change this. That is absolute a falsehood. This is someone who, one, doesn't want to take the time to discuss with you the proper exercise and diet that would help you, or they are just not properly educated on the valuable things that lifestyle interventions can improve. So, for example, someone who is said, you just have high cholesterol because of your family history, and here's a medication for you. Now, there are absolutely indications for medications, such as someone who has a history of heart disease or elevated, let's say coronary artery calcium score, and they've had high LDL for a long period of time and other things. Those definitely have cases for medications. And I'm not saying I'm anti-medication. I prescribe medications on a regular basis, but it's after a thorough discussion with the patient, looking at them as a whole and understanding what the patient's desires are as well. So I will lay out the case for medications, the benefits and risks, and the patient will make the final decision what they would like to do. Sometimes I might be a little bit more like, really, we might want to really consider this medication because of, increased risk. But to get back to the point here, I've seen cholesterol drop 120 points when someone cleans up their diet and starts exercising. And what I mean by clean up the diet is, of course, my favorite, a whole food plant-based diet, because this is a cholesterol-free diet, and you will see your cholesterol drop to a certain point. And then there's some other things that can happen as well. So an LDL is a marker of heart disease. And I don't care what blog you're reading or whatever, LDL does matter, as does inflammation and other factors. So diet and exercise absolutely matter. This should be the foundation of your health. And if you want to live a long, healthy life, that needs to be taken into account in your daily routine. Okay. Next one really annoys me. Is it's all in your head. So, yeah. I can see this as a way of someone who's just like, oh, this is all in your head. You'll be fine. You're just tired or stressed or something. If someone is complaining about something like, especially like depression and anxiety, or if you're going through, I'm telling you, the menopause thing is at the top of my mind these days. There are 30 different symptoms associated with menopause off the top of my head. Of course, hot flashes, mood disorders, weight gain, hot flashes, headaches, you name it, elevated lipids. So many things can change with changes in your hormones. Anyway, if someone is telling you it's all in your head, or that you just take another medication for anxiety, depression, please seek additional help from someone who will take the time and has the ability to sit down and discuss these with you. And this is another case, I think, for documenting or journaling your symptoms, when they started, what has failed, what has worked, what have tests have been done, just a summary of your health. And like I said, you are literally the ultimate CEO of your health. And so that's where I'd start. And finally, I think the last one that so many of us, I think, fall prey to, and it's easy to do with today's marketing, is try this quick fix, right? We're always looking for biohacking opportunities and this supplement or this gadget or this diet or this exercise to fix something that really is going to take time and effort in managing, right? So there is no silver bullet. The closest thing I've seen to having majority, if not every single patient, have some improvement in their health is a more plant-centric diet. So the more fiber you consume, whole food plant-based diet, the better you're going to be. Exercise, sleep, and stress management. Those are not quick fixes, but Well, the plant-based diet, you can see some shifts in diet and in health pretty quickly if someone is consistent. Um, but yeah, over time, in relatively short period of time, you can see some dramatic improvements in your energy levels and lots of things. But just because, let's say that you want to avoid a statin, you've been told you have elevated cholesterol and your testing is showing that there might be some beginnings of heart disease or worsening of heart disease. And like, I just don't want to do a statin. So I'm going to try the red yeast rice, excuse me, and or some supplement that's been known to decrease your cholesterol. The problem with that is these supplements are not monitored. You don't know what you're getting unless you're looking at third-party testing. So if you do consume a supplement, which when I do recommend supplements, which of course I do, certain ones, make sure you're looking at third-party testing to make sure, one, that what's in them is accurate, and number two, you got to be careful about how much you're taking, right? You can take too much of a good thing, because even water, taking too much at once can lower your sodium and could, potentially kill you. So again, you want to be very careful about any of these tricky marketing ploys like quick fixes. Supplements are a big one, or some gadget that pulls or leaches something out of you, or make sure that you're looking at someone who has one of the qualifications. They're the educated someone and they're practicing within their scope, right? So if someone is telling you, oh, this is for your thyroid or this is for your asthma, make sure they're actually physicians or other qualified personnel that actually practice in the scope of care to take care of those patients. So I'm always dismayed when I see patients wasting their money and time and potentially, dangerous interventions or quick fixes, just to see that nothing has changed or potentially worsened because they've ignored and not been really looking at the things that actually can move the needle in their health. So I hope that was helpful. Just from my perspective, after talking to patients and just being a human in general, yeah, I just, not that we all haven't fell prey to these things or said these things ourselves or not taking responsibility, because like I said, we're human, but I just wanted to highlight some things and why I think it's important to keep these things on top of mind and what you can do. So again, I think the best thing to do is journal what symptoms you had, whatever it is that's bothering you, write down the timeline and 3 specific questions. Maybe if you just have one, that's great too, but try to keep it concise to 3 most important questions to have with your doctor. It's like, here's my summary and there's my 3 questions. And if you can send it ahead of time, that's even better. Because it really just makes the time that you do have with your doctor much more valuable. And I guarantee you, your doctor's going to go, I like it when this patient comes in to see me, because they come prepared, just like any meeting at work, to really make sure that this is a productive time together. And then someone doesn't feel so like rushed and always feeling behind. It's like, my doctor didn't listen to me. Of course, your doctor is trying their best. Again, I'm sure I'll get some feedback about this doctor sucks and whatever. I'm just speaking from the generality, but yeah, people don't go through medical school and become $250,000 in debt and spend 3 to 5 years after medical school in the pursuit of instant riches. So they're not doing it for the money. So they're doing it. The majority are doing it because they want to help people get better. And trust me, there's plenty of personal sacrifices that come along with that MD that comes after your name. So, or DO or whatever other specialty you're doing. But just throwing that out there, guys. So it's a balance. But I hope you found this helpful, and I'll be back tomorrow. But I do want to say thank you for being here as always. And I'm sending you love, joy, peace, and healing and abundance, because we need more of that in this world. And you guys have a good rest of your day. And we'll talk soon. Bye.